Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete from Anxiety here. Welcome in today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety. Then look for the Team Anxiety Team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing, pause this video, go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. If you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get in today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.
An exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. My guest today is the founder and Chief Burnout Officer of the Breakfast Leadership Network, a media firm dedicated to addressing burnout and improving workplace culture. My guest also is a certified NLP CBT therapist. He hosts the popular Breakfast Leadership podcast, ranked top 20 globally, and is the thought leadership by Thinkers 360. Also is ranked top 25 California podcast on leadership by FeedSpot. Please welcome in Michael Levitt. How you doing, Mike?
I am awesome. How's your mental health today? See, I was paying attention there.
No, it's not too bad today, man. And Michael is here because Michael specializes in burnout. So before we get in that, let's learn a little bit more about Mike. Mike, why don't you tell everybody a little more about yourself? That way they get a little more feel for you.
Yep. I founded the Breakfast Leadership Network back in 2016. The phrase breakfast leadership came to me in the shower. So, because I was doing some consulting work and I was dealing with executives, and I was like, okay, what am I going to call my company? Because Michael Levitt Consulting, I already used that years and years ago, and that just doesn't raise any eyebrows. So breakfast leadership came to me because breakfast is my favorite meal of the day, and usually it's people consume it in the morning, and that's usually when you can get leaders before they get into the trenches of the workday. And leadership obviously is a sweet spot in the work that I do. So that's how it came about. Again, started off doing some consulting with executives, and then I was looking at their teams and going, oh wow, looks like you have minions of little people that are not little people, but people that are burned out. Minions are little. That's why I said little people, but minions that are burned out. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I need to expand this a little bit, and started doing that. And then from there, started my podcast, started writing books, doing keynote talks, and it's taken on a life of its own, and it's been quite the journey so far.
Sounds like it, man. Sounds like you've just been busy all the time doing stuff. I know before we started, you were like, man, let me tell you, this quarter two is just outrageous. I mean, I get it though, man. Like, you're out there making the conversation known that, like, listen, hey, your employees are burned out. You need to address these problems now before you start, having issues, which I think a lot of us experience it, but they don't understand what burnout is. So why don't you give them a better definition of what burnout would be like? And I bet you a lot of people that are about to hear what you're about to say are going to relate to what you're saying.
Yep. And what I'll do is I'll give you the World Health Organization, who we heard from quite a bit over the last few years. But prior to the pandemic, they actually updated their ICD, which is a disease registry journal, for burnout. Now, they did not classify burnout as a disease. They classified it as a workplace phenomenon. And I'll read you verbatim, because I actually printed it because it's a little wordy, and then I'll translate it into English for you. So burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Is characterized by three dimensions: feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, feelings of negativity or cynicism towards that job, or reduce professional efficiency. So let me give you the English version. You're overwhelmed with life. You have no energy. You're exhausted constantly. You're mentally, physically, and emotionally checked out from work and in life outside of work, and your productivity's in the tank. And when I ask people that, they go, "Oh yeah, that sounds like me." And the numbers are there. We're seeing it across the board. We saw a lot of it happen during the early days of the pandemic, because it was a pretty stressful time. burnout is prolonged stress. So you don't go from zero to burnout. You have stress that's unaddressed. And if it's prolonged, then it could lead to burnout. And a lot of people were under some extreme prolonged stress for a variety of different reasons. One could be work. The remote work was harder than people anticipated, or maybe they weren't allowed to work remotely. Maybe they're one of the first responders that were always out
Yeah.
and risking their lives, which they do on a day-to-day basis anyways. But in the early days, when we were still trying to figure out what the heck this thing was and it was killing a bunch of people, yeah, not exactly a lot of fun to say, oh yeah, let's go and you're going to be exposed to something that is killing people. Have a good day. Yeah, so healthcare, which is an industry I used to work in, they faced it all the time. And then of course, first responders, police and services that deal with people all the time. Yeah, it was a little chaotic to say the least. But we're seeing it because it kind of mimics what we saw in the Great Recession too, a little bit, where a lot of organizations have been struggling. So teams are getting a little bit smaller. So your workload, which was already too much to begin with in many cases, is getting worse. And that's why you're seeing so many people, look at the gig economy, which is okay, I'm going to go deliver food, or I'm going
Yeah.
to drive people around, or I'm going to do some coding or design work or marketing work or whatever. And those are roles that are needed. And we're seeing some shifts. The stats are there. We see the percentage of engaged employees continues to drop dramatically. It's under 30% of those surveyed are actually engaged to work, and you go, well, why is that? And
Good question. Good question
there,
there.
there, there's a lot of reasons, and it could be. I wish we had a magic pill and say it's because of this,
Right.
and it's not, because people often forget we're dealing with this entity called human being, and we bring baggage to work. We
Yeah.
we have managers that are bringing their personal lives into work. They're trying not to. They're trying to silo it. But come on, if you're having a tough go of it financially or emotionally, or maybe your relationships are struggling a little bit, maybe you're a caregiver now for a parent, and that's taking a big toll on you. All
Yeah.
of these things play into the challenges that we face on a daily basis. And we always say, well, when you're at work, be at work. I'm like, well, yeah, that's
Or they always
noble.
say, what is that? The other thing they always say is like, leave it at the door. And it's like, it's hard for people to leave it at the door. Like you said, if it's something like a relationship issue, it's
Mhm.
hard to do, man. You got that going through your head the whole time you're at work. It's like, it's hard for you to focus. And then you got all these other things to start building on top of that. And it's just like, I know, like I work in the customer service industry, and I know it's stressful for us because it's
Mhm.
like they want you to do so much, but then it's like they don't have realistic expectations of things. It's like, oh, I want you to do all these different things. I'm like, but how? Like you don't give us enough time to get these things done, and then you're blaming everybody because things are not getting done. And it's like every day I go to work, I have to hear, oh, well, you're getting an acknowledgement for something. I'm like, wait a minute, why am I getting an acknowledgement when I'm not part of the I'm part of this issue at all? It's like, oh no, we're a team here, but that doesn't feel like a team.
No.
Or they sell that whole thing of, oh, we're like a family. I don't feel like this is a family, and then it's like you have those employees that are so far gone that they start being toxic to everybody else because they're just like they're so burnt out just from everything they've experienced up until this point, and it was just like it's not really shocking when I hear it anymore now because like I'm 40 years old now, man. I've been working most of my life doing different customer service gigs and things like that too, and it's like you hear the same things, but I can identify a lot of those people ahead of time. It's like, I can just start, fact from reality, but most people can't,
Yeah.
and it's probably because just the burnout. Am I not right about that though? It's basically what's happening is that these people are getting overworked, and then they're starting to spread all these new people come in. They're like, oh, you try to sell a new person. Oh man, this is like a family. They're like, oh yeah, we work as a team here. And then you get there and you hearing people say the direct opposite though.
Yeah, if it was actually like a family, it's like, well, then that means I can throat punch Steve, because that's what I do to my brother Steve. I don't. I'm saying that tongue in cheek, and we're not condoning violence on this show, mine, yours, or any other show. Don't do that,
No, 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 we're not.
because yeah, because
He's
bail
just using
money,
an example, everybody. All
bail,
right, calm
yeah,
down.
bail money. It's just a pie in the sky example. So yeah, when I hear we're like family, I'm like, and a lot of people they're like, I go to work to get away from my family. I don't want family. I want to go into a place where I'm heard.
Yeah.
I'm looked at as a human being. There's a caring component to it. And as you mentioned, customer service. Yeah, I'm thinking about tech support calls as an
Hmm.
example, or customer service calls like, oh, we need to close this many tickets an hour. That is such a BS type of metric. And I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you why, because you have no clue who's on that other line when they call in and what their issue is. I mean, you might know them because they're a customer, you got their profile, but you have no idea what they're calling about.
Yeah.
It could be a 2-minute issue, or it could be I had a customer service issue this morning with something on my website, a plugin that I use, and I was trying to upgrade because it's a subscription service on one of the things that I use, and I was trying to update it. It's like, yeah, let's upgrade, and it was giving me an error message saying, the payment gateway on their end wasn't working. So, I went into, call, and like, well, it's early. There's nobody awake yet. So I said, well, there's a chat bot. Okay, well, let's play with the AI chat bot. Let's have some fun with that and see what's going on. And I like, I really wanted to have the issue fixed. I didn't want to, I was,
No, I get you.
not asking, what are the main ingredients of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? I didn't do that. But, so I explained the situation to them, and they said, well, try a different browser, try to go into incognito mode. So I tried a different browser. I tried incognito mode on both of them. Error message kept going up. I'm like, all right, let's do something silly here. Let's try the phone. So I fire up the phone, boom, works instantly. I'm like, okay. So I let them know. I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
kind of troubleshoot it on my end. Now, maybe my customer service and tech support service skills that I have from my career a long time ago, but they're still kind of there.
Yeah.
Let's try this. Well, and it worked. I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. So you can go back to your team and say, okay, if anybody's using a laptop or a desktop, these browsers are not working, but the mobile version of it seems to be okay. So, but that was, a situation where I was, a little bit more proactive. Let's say I'm
Yeah.
somebody that's not as tech savvy, that could have taken a 15, 20 minutes to kind of get things sorted out because you have a customer that wants to buy from you
Yeah.
and you want to do it. So they're like, well, you only did 3 calls this hour. That's horrible. Yeah, guess what? That customer that I spent 25 minutes when bought the top tier plan and paid you 3x what you'd normally get from others. So, it's I get irritated when I say, this number of many calls. It's like it reminds me of my healthcare days when I was running healthcare clinics, and the doctors, a lot of them, the way they were billing, were saying, okay, we can spend 12 minutes with each patient. I'm like, this person's got hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, 6 other things, and they usually come in with a notebook of things that they're dealing with. Are you going to just say just one issue, or are you going to take care of that patient?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's pretty crazy to even think about them saying
yeah,
that, though. I mean,
oh yeah. Well, that's how they get paid, and that's how the system is designed to pay them. Because
yeah.
in many situations, they can only bill for the main service. Like, well, I talked to them about their cancer treatment, and I talked to them also about their hypertension issue, and then the insurance companies will say, "Oh no, we can only pay for that." I'm like, you provided a service. It's like if that's the case, the next time I get my oil changed, I'm gonna say, no, no, no. 5 liters of the 10W30. Yeah, I know you did the air filter. Yeah, I know you did the vacuum clean. I know you did put the air in the tires and the wipers and all that stuff, and you spent like almost an hour on the car. But I can only pay you for the 5 bottles of oil. I'm not going to pay for the other stuff. It's
Yeah.
it, there's insanity and silly and or silliness and so many different things, which causes stress. And you have all these. I just gave you a couple life examples there. So
Yeah.
you start piling all those things up of prolonged stressor after stressor after stressor. Next thing you know, you're approaching burnout. And quite frankly, work may not be the core place where it's happening. Could be other ingredients that are just kind of piling up. And if you don't have the ability to address them or have the tools necessarily currently to address them, that's when you can start dealing with the prolonged stress and burnout.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's true. I've been there. I know what it's like. Like you get so stressed out because they just keep piling more crap on, and it's
Mhm.
oh, what it was. The funny thing was the first year where I work, I got told every day I was doing something wrong. But I was like, okay, proactively, I'm like, what am I not doing right though? But they could never answer that question. Well, I don't know. Like, so what did this person say when they came in and say something? The upper boss sort of comes in. I guarantee they told you something, and it's frustrating because it's like you're trying to be proactive and be like, hey, okay, so what am I not doing right that I could do better to solve these issues? But they're not giving you anything in return, or they're asking you to do all these different things, or it's like they get mad at you because it's like, oh, well, I called you to come in. Listen, I'm not Superman. I have a life outside of work, and this is what you tell new people. You're like, oh yeah, you have a life, you have, you have flexible schedules, things that bullshit, because that's not how it works.
Right.
We know it's not how it works. And then they get in and find out that's not the case. And then a lot of them are like, you lied to me. And they're like, well, I'm done with this because I feel lied to. And I'm, and it's just happens. But it's like at the same time, it's burnout is just, I don't think a lot of people know that they're experiencing it. Just like you said, the way you were describing it to those people, they were just like, oh yeah, okay, that's me then. Or that's exactly what I'm telling you is what happened here,
Yeah.
And it's really scary though that it's like, a lot of people say this about Amazon. They say like they just mill through people like that. They'll just keep running them and then just keep filtering people through, which is just crazy because Amazon is like a multi-billion-dollar company. It's like you figure they would have a better mentality of how to keep their employees. You figure turnover rate is not good for a lot of people, but from what you hear people say, and then things get around and people talk, and then the internet goes, and it's just like now you have so many different ways to make the conversation even worse, because then somebody's going to complain about, oh, I used to work there. There's like you know what I mean? And it just gets out and it spreads like wildfire, when in the beginning, it's just better planning could have made this situation way better for everybody.
Yeah. It boils down to, in many cases, communication, management. A lot of managers are not skilled to be management, and
Yeah.
they're just not. And
Yeah.
I'll dig into the reasons why. One is they may have, let's say, we'll pick on that company you just mentioned that everybody
Yeah.
buys everything from. Happy Prime Day, by the way. At the time of this recording, I think it's still Prime Day, or that was yesterday. I don't know. It's Prime. It's Prime Days now. Because they make a ton of money on top of the money they already make. But anyway, they may have been like amazing. They were cranking out 40 packages a minute or something silly.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, wow, you're management material. No, you're really good at what you do. You have not demonstrated any management skills whatsoever. And also, congratulations, you're now assistant manager. Awesome.
Yeah.
What do I do? Manage. Have a good day. And you're like, what? And they've never managed anything in their lives. All of a sudden, they are lost, and they are, and all of the self-doubt, emotions, and things like that start kicking in. And what happens with many people, unfortunately, is they lash out because they're, quite frankly, scared and they're lost. And they don't have necessarily the wherewithal or the skill set to go, I should probably learn how to become a manager and go to YouTube University. There's plenty of things out there. Are they all good? No. Are there some that are great? Yes.
Yeah.
There's tons of books on how to be, but it comes down to this. You have to be the type of manager that you would like manage you. So that's a good way to start. It's like, if I had my manager treat me the way and deal with me the way that I would like, what does that look like? How does that make me feel? Makes me feel great. Well, then be that manager. And even if you're not a manager, do that. And then you're going to be better prepared to deal with people. Because again, like we talked about in the early stage, everybody you're dealing with is dealing with something. Maybe they're, having some relationship issues with their family, or they're in a new relationship and it's not going great, or financial challenges, or they had to uproot and move because of something. There's so many different things that happen in life. It's called life. It's not easy. None of us get out of it alive.
Right.
So it's challenging. So we bring that to work. So understanding that you're dealing with humans, I think goes a long way. And yeah, companies like the Zon and everybody else could do a lot better. But if there's no financial pressure for them, because I see this a lot of times with organizations that are in a constant turnstile of people. If it's not hitting their bottom line to the point where it's becoming a problem, many times they're not going to do anything about it. And this could be a publicly traded company, or it could be an individual owned. I know organizations that just constantly going through people. It's just
Yeah.
literally spinning through.
You see that a lot in fast food though. Like a lot of
Oh
they
yeah,
just churn and burn people though.
yeah.
But it's like Chick-fil-A set the standard for the culture for that whole thing too, because they're just
Yep.
like over the top service and things like that. And their mentality of like my pleasure, like you have to like that's the only thing I didn't agree with the whole thing because I worked there for a short stint of time and I was like, I can't do this my pleasure thing. I'm like, I'm answering you, I'm in the kitchen, we're working, I'm acknowledging the fact you're saying something, but you have to say my pleasure, everybody. I'm like, really? Like I get the culture you're trying to get, but it's like I'm the heat of the moment, getting things done. We got X amount of orders, and like Chick-fil-A does a ridiculous amount where I'm at in this little town where I'm at too, man. They do like $3,000 hours at least. And for a lot of people, they're not used to that kind of pressure. And when they get into it, and the way they do it though is systematic though. They have a line of people that really have a person paid to sit there and put a pickle on a bun. Like that's literally how established they are, which makes sense though. And you have one person in the front driving the train, but it's like it could get rough after a while, man, because you just go and like from breakfast to lunch, this is what I used to work like breakfast, lunch, and things like that. It was exhausting because like even the person the fries, Michael, let me tell you, the person running the fry station, man, that's the champion of the team right there. Like I wish somebody would record what that person's going through because that screen is lighting up so fast because the way Chick-fil-A does it is they take like 6 orders in advance. So you're already 6 orders behind. If you're on that screen and you're following that screen, you're already behind orders. But that's because they have the long lines. They have the people out there taking the orders. So they have a constant flow of things going on. But the stress level, Jesus almighty, was it crazy in there? Because like I said, you get to that guy behind you in the fries. Oh, you're not going fast enough. You got to drop them. I'm like, how do you want me to make these fries, drop them, and do all this all at one time? It's like you got to be Superman. Like I'm just here, man. I'm like this poor kid. You're watching him back there. He look like he's gonna pass out over there after he finishes making it through just the rush of it, And it's just crazy though. But like they've got it to the point like where it's a system, which makes sense because like you have somebody working on these things, that person's this job. It's more systematic than most people, and I just think like I think they're more likely to burn out though because of the just sheer volume of just things they do because the popularity of it alone, the brand name is just so big that people see that and there's blinds around the building and like we could see in the kitchen there's a camera. It was around the corner, down back, and you could see it going down the street behind where the building was, where the property line ended, down towards like where the other establishments are, the Bell and everybody else down that way. They're literally going down the line there, and it's like that for Whataburger here in Texas too, man. Like they open a new one. I kid you not when I say there was at least 3 miles long line coming out of that drive-through all the way down. I was just like, those poor people, man. And I met somebody that works at that one. I was like, man, dude, you got to be an all-star because that's crazy, man. You're constantly going those orders are popping in, and things like that too. And it's if you're not careful, you're going to burn out really easily doing that.
Yeah, and we see that the ones where the workloads are just. And going back to the fry example for a second, they figured out a system on how to create the best chance for success to crank out the amount of food that a restaurant like Chick-fil-A has to crank out. Yeah, it's the lineups are amazing, and I see it, and it just like out west, In-N-Out burgers, usually especially the one by LAX is an absolute zoo. It's cool because it's an Instagram place. You can sit outside and eat, and the planes are literally landing over you. So I get that, but I also say, you can get a chicken sandwich somewhere else, but it's and I'm not knocking their success at all.
No,
but I think,
I get that completely, but
but
it's
I
like
think
that too.
Yeah, it's like that herd mentality. Okay, I have to eat there, and
Right? Instagram told me to eat there.
yeah, pretty much like, I must eat Whataburger. Have I had Whataburger? Absolutely, I have. They're good. Chick-fil-A. I like I like the sandwich. Their breakfast sandwiches are really good, and the sauce, of course, is it's one of their staples. So I get it. It's good. Am I going to wait in a long line for an hour and a half to get it? No, because it's not that important to me, and it's not. When I'm on my deathbed and reflecting on life, I'm not going to go, I really wish I would have stayed in line for. No, it's not important. Find
Right.
nourishment, eat the foods right for you, and you'll be good.
Right.
But again, it's that fear of missing out. Managers that have difficulty managing, they have this fear of missing out or fear of getting in trouble from their boss because customer service isn't cranking out the levels. But but again, they're looking at the wrong numbers. They're measuring things like, it's why are we getting so many customer support calls? Is it because quality assurance team is asleep at the wheel? Do we have a QA team? Do we let them
Yeah.
go? Um, what's our salespeople telling our customers? Is that actually truth, or is that a figment of their imagination so they could get the sale? There's all these little pieces that come into the design of things. It's much like making a meal, or since we're on a food rant here for a moment. It's like you're making something at home, okay? And you're
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm going to cook a chicken breast, but what am I going to put on it? What kind of seasonings? Because that could determine what kind of chicken dish you're going to have. And
Yeah.
uh, it's all the ingredients. If you put in the wrong ingredients in there and you go, okay, I thought I put in paprika, but I put in cinnamon. All right, that's going to be an interesting flavor. Let's see what that. It's like, wow, it smells weird in here. Why does it smell like cinnamon in here? It's like a cinna chicken. I don't think maybe it will be. I don't know. Maybe that'll be the next craze, and I'll be
Who
ticked if
knows
it
these
is.
days, man?
I'll be ticked that I didn't do it first because we could have capitalized on that and retired. But it's again eh, taking a step back and going, okay, what's my role in this? And an exercise that a lot of people do, and I highly encourage they do it too, is when you're facing a challenging situation, you look at it and go, okay, what's my role in this? I know sometimes that's hard because we like pointing fingers and it's the manager's
Yeah.
fault, it's the company's fault. They don't pay me enough. This and this and this. My car is lousy. Whatever. And I'm not diminishing that. Those are all real things. I get it.
Yeah.
I have those things happen to me a lot. It's just, but okay, what can I control in this situation? What's my role in it? Well, your role is your mindset on how you face it. This is the reality. I'm already 6 orders behind on the fries. What do I
Yeah.
need to do? Make fries. Um, I can't make them faster than the system will allow it.
Right.
So, the people are going to have to wait for the fries. If they're upset about waiting for the fries, they didn't read the room right because it's Chick-fil-A and there's a lineup all the way down the interstate to get into this place because we just opened up this location and everybody has to be the first one to get it. Who does anybody know the name of the person who was first in line that bought the latest iPhone? Anybody know that person?
No. Yeah,
Okay.
good point though. I mean, you have a really good point there though, because people line up for those too, man. It's like
Oh yeah.
there's slave mentality that they're just like, oh, I just got the new one a couple months ago. Now I'm dropping another one. Now I gotta go get this one. It's like, huh? Wait,
Yeah.
what? Like you're crazy.
Yeah, I'm one. And I have an iPhone. Actually, I have two. I have two different numbers, for work and personal. And they're both older ones. The work one is actually not antiquated. They're still updating the operating system. So as long as they still do that, then I keep it. But until then, I'm like, oh, or the battery life, craps the bed, then of course, maybe I should upgrade. But
Yeah.
for me, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what the new one, the new feature, this and this, I'm looking at, it's like, okay, well, that dramatically changed my life.
Right.
And if the answer is yes, then I'm going to strongly look at it. If it's maybe, okay. But the majority of things, when people are like, you must have this. If you don't, you're going to lose out and the world will judge you. The world doesn't care.
Yeah.
I know that's harsh, but the world doesn't care.
It's the same thing. You think about it, you apply it to like video game systems like the craze, and everybody's like, oh, I want an Xbox, or I want the PlayStation, or I want all these things now, or what was it? The Switch 2 is the latest one where everybody was just complaining about something. And it's like, y'all are killing me here. It's like, y'all are complaining about the stupidest crap possible. Like, you knew what this was before you got into it, and then you buy it, and then you want to complain about it. And it's like, but you bought it knowing these things are what you're getting is this right here.
Yeah.
So like then you're mad at Sony or whoever. Oh, but you bought it regardless of the fact of knowing these things.
Yeah, it's like I know with the Switch too. It's like, okay, not all the games are compatible, or there's not a lot of game shit. No kidding, it just came out, and Nintendo, love them.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't get the code to the developers in time, or the developers they're going, well, we're making all these other games. We can't focus all of our attention to build a new version for the Switch 2 yet because we're wrapping up this latest version of Call of Duty or
Yeah.
Grand Theft
Yeah.
Auto or things like that. I mean, I know there's a running, and I'm not a gamer, but I see stuff and all
Oh
that
no, you're
stuff.
hitting the right points in those. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are
but
long running ones,
yeah,
and
so
Fortnite and all them. Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of people are joking. Are we gonna have people on Mars before the next Grand Theft Auto game comes out? And I'm not knocking Rockstar or anything like that. I actually know a couple of people that work there, but it's I, people like that's not there, or it's. And I'm gonna give a real life example. This is a personal story, and I don't share a lot of personal stuff, but in our dining room, my wife and I, it didn't have a ceiling fan in there; it just had a regular light. And we said, "We want a ceiling fan." And I was, I shouldn't say hammering, but I was hammering, going, "I want the light to be bright," because the one we had before was kind of dim. It's like I don't,
Yeah.
mood lighting, that's fine, but sometimes we sit here and do other things besides eating. So I'd like a light that is adjustable, but I want it to be bright. And I kept reminding her that. Maybe I was being a little anal about it, but I kept reminding it. So we finally get it installed. She turns it on, and in my infinite wisdom, I say, "It's too bright." I'm actually surprised I'm still alive, but because she was so mad at me. But that's that. That's in a nutshell what we are. It's like I want this Switch 2. I want the new one. I want this game. It's great,
Yeah.
great. Get it? And you're like, they don't have enough games. You knew that, like you said,
Yeah.
and it's. I think people have gotten into this, and I want to blame social media to an extent on this, but not
Yeah.
fully. People's natural go-to is to complain first,
Hmm.
not seek to understand or look at the perspectives. They just immediately go to, "This is horrible." And
Yeah.
I'm like, why is it horrible? And it's because maybe they had unrealistic expectations. Maybe they were hoping that they would get this game system and there'd be 600 games that they want to get, or maybe the game they really want isn't
Yeah.
available yet and won't be till Q3 2026 or something. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, why did you buy it now then? You could have waited. Because my
Exactly.
hunch, I'm just going on a limb here. I'm pretty sure Nintendo is going to be selling the Switch 2 in Q3 2026. I'm guessing there will be. So when your game that you really want comes out, then you can buy it then. But
Right.
I think just people they've bought into this, just being upset and angry all the time, which again, I think is a lot to do with just how society has been going for a while. And
Yeah.
the pandemic certainly didn't help.
God,
Um,
no. I think it amplified anything. If
yeah.
anything, it amplified the
Yeah.
mental health issues that people have and
Oh, yeah.
burnout and
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff came through even stronger because like we're in these situations stressing out because now we worry about COVID because it's like wherever you go, you're so freaking out about, oh my God, I'm getting COVID. I gotta wear a mask to go in these places. I don't want to wear the mask, and it's like, okay, I get it, but like so many people push back on it. We're just like, and things like that too. And it was just like, it made no sense to me and all that kind of thing. And it was like, hey, you need to, chill out and just kind of go with it. And it's like, people just didn't want to do that because of course we got to complain about it. So we got to go online and make stupid videos about cutting open the mask. And well, look, I'm wearing my mask. I have a big hole in the front of it. It's like, you're fitting the purpose of why you should be wearing this thing in the first place.
Yeah. I think it's just confrontational way of things instead of, and I love how you said, just go with the flow,
Yeah.
and just, okay, if it bugs you so much to wear the mask, and I know for a lot of people, especially in the early days, it was really bothersome because they had never wore one before and they just didn't like how it felt, and I get it. I completely understand that. I'm asthmatic, so
Yeah.
initially it was like, I did feel like shortness of breath, but thankfully I'm like, I can breathe through this. So it's like, okay, let's adjust, and got used to it. I'm like, all right, now I know when I need to wear it. I have it, and that's the rules of engagement.
Yeah.
I can like it, hate it, whatnot. Do I want to go into this restaurant to be able to buy this food, or go into this store to be able to do this? Do I want to do that? Yes. Okay. In order to do that, this is the currency that I have to use, which is
Yeah.
wearing a
Yeah.
mask and all that other stuff. If I
I,
don't want to do that, I don't have to.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty over here.
No worries.
But yeah, no, I get that completely too, and it's just like it's so funny that you mentioned social media because social media, I feel like, amplifies things now. Because if you think about it now, we don't longer have to be face to face to just share the information or be on the phone. We have Instagram and God knows everything else that we're all on that you could just complain about stuff and tag people and things and attack people and things and hey, I hate this job. Or what was it, the one recently with the Starbucks person? Oh my God, they made me work 8 hours without a break or something, and everybody was just an uproar about, oh well, he just doesn't want to work and things like that. But I think people miss out on the point is that they're not wrong though. I mean, it's like we've been dealing with these things for so long, and these being mistreated so long that these newer generations, it's like, hey, no, we're not going to put up with this crap anymore. We're going to stand up for what we want. We want more, beneficial things in the end of the day. And it makes sense because it's like, but then it makes sense, but at the same time, it causes the argument of, oh, well, the just younger generation doesn't want to work. And I don't think that's what it is. I think it's that they figured it out. They're like, no, I see how my dad, my mom, and everybody are all burnt out doing their jobs. And they're like, yeah, I don't want to be that same person. I want change. But now I want change. I'm the one that's being over dramatic, though, you could probably tell me better because this is the area that you're in, though. It's like it just, to me, that's what it seems like, is that these guys are finally done. They're like, you know what, we're going to make a stand. And damned if I do, but it was like, you get those videos and then you get the other videos and people just start making fun of them. And it's just like, I think they're on to something though, honestly. Like, think about it. Like they figured it out that this is not the way we want to do things. And then they're working less jobs that fit into that category of, where they see people being burnt out and, things like that. Cause you're always looking, we're always watching what other people are doing. I don't care what anyone says. You're always people watching somebody. You're always looking at what somebody's doing and, other things like that. And it's like, it's so funny though, because then we push back because we don't like change. So, which, I mean, it's already been relevant anytime anything changed in history at all. It's always been like that. It always push back. So, yeah. But it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing, the Gen Z, the younger millennials, and we've got Gen Alpha coming into the workforce pretty soon. And we're seeing a lot of trends going, I don't want to work, 5 days a week, 40 plus hours in an office. I don't want to do that. I want the flexibility. And, there are organizations and companies that have the roles that work. And we see a lot of it, like the gig economy and everything else, where people are cobbling together a career path for themselves to do a variety of different things. And a lot of people, older ones, will say, well, that's not working. You got to go in, you do this, you put in your time, you get your gold watch. And those days are rapidly behind us. And there might be the one-offs here and there, but it's rare for you to encounter somebody that's been with a single organization for a very long time, unless for them it's their sweet spot. It works out. Everybody's happy. They've designed things the way they want it to be, and those opportunities are still there. I'm not saying that they're not. It's not like, okay, your job will expire on December 31st, 2027. May or may not. But I think ultimately it boils down to kind of an equaling of the playing field a little bit. And I think that's where a lot of it, going back to the managers and the leaders that have some confidence issues, and we saw during the pandemic too, where a lot of managers really had a tough time because they didn't physically see their people at their desks. They were all working remotely, and they were afraid, oh, they're just going to be sitting around watching Netflix all the time and all that stuff. But stat after stat after stat after stat of research and things like that, most organizations that measured productivity saw either the same or improved productivity from their remote workforce. And you go, why is that? Well, because they were allowed to focus and do deep work and work in their zone and not be constantly micromanaged or interrupted. Micromanagement is a sign of insecurity, period, full stop. If you are micromanaged, you have an insecure leader or whoever is managing you. They are insecure. I'm of the opinion, and it goes back to a guy that hired me quarter century ago working for a .com company. They're still around, publicly traded. I sold shares, bought a car. Probably should have kept the shares, but I wanted the car. Anyway, fun car too. I enjoyed that thing. But ultimately, I remember the first day I worked there, 3:32 p.m. He came to my cubicle and he said, "Okay, I just got to lay down the ground rules here." And I'm thinking, "Okay, here we go." He leaned in. He goes, "I don't care when you get here. I don't care when you leave. As long as you get your work done, everything's good. I'm here
Yeah.
Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm in the East Coast office. Here's my cell number. Here's my pager number to give you an idea of how old that was. Call, text me whenever you need anything. Have fun."
Right.
And I sat back in my cubicle going, I think I'm going to be here a while.
Yeah.
And I stayed and had all kinds of growth, got bonuses, got to travel a lot, did some amazing fun things there. It was probably one of my favorite places to work in my
Right.
career. Why? Because of that 3:32 p.m. chat. And it's all you got to do. Hire people. And I've had arguments with management and leaders on this all the time. So
Yeah.
we don't trust our people to do their job. And I look at him and I go, Tom Peters. If people don't know who Tom Peters is, go look up his work. I've been a fan of Tom's for a very long time.
Yeah.
And he would say the same thing. Okay, you don't trust them? Yeah. Well, you need to go fire them right now. Get in your car,
Exactly.
fire
That's
them right
my
now.
thought process too. Is if you can't trust them, then get rid of them.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
they
if
go, why can't we need them? I'm like, wait a minute. You don't trust them, but you need them, which means they're doing the job. Yeah. I'm like, okay. My dad used to have a saying that's speaking out of both sides of your ass. And that's, again, what a lot of leaders and insecure managers do. It's like, hire the people that can do the job, give
yeah.
them the tools they need to do the job, let them do the job, guide them, be there for them if they need help,
Yeah.
train them well. And well, we see it all the time. When organizations properly onboard their people, it
Yeah.
increases the likelihood of that employee staying at least a year by 65%, just by doing a good onboarding of, here's the bathroom code, this is what we make, this is who we sell to, here's your customers, here's who you deal with, here's the
Yeah.
department chains. Properly on board, they're going to stay. But if they go, well, good luck, throw them to the fire, they're going to go, what the heck is this place?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to hide. It won't take me long to update resume.doc. I'm going to go ahead and get that updated again and
Yeah. No,
get
I
the heck
agree with
out
that
of it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens somewhere I'm at too. It's like they just throw them in the fire, and then it's like, oh well, here you go, trial by fire. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't work like that anymore, and things like that. It's like you can't you don't learn that way.
Yeah.
That's how you have a higher turnover rate. Like people just don't get it. It's like that mentality just isn't there anymore. You can't keep training them the same way, and then go, oh well, I don't know why they quit. Well, I wonder why they quit. You just threw them in the fire, let them just sit there and basically burn and go, okay, well, you'll figure this out at the end of the day and all that other kind of stuff, and things like that too. So, and it's just, so, but yeah, no, you're good. Go ahead.
As it eventually catches up, because
Yeah.
a stat that I share a lot is 52% of the Fortune 500 companies from the year 2000 are gone.
Yeah.
So that's Fortune 500. That's the big boys. Okay. So if you're small, mid-size, and you're treating your employees this way and not onboarding them, throwing them to the fire,
Yeah.
it's going to catch up to you. I promise you that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And the organizations that thrive and that are agile and can navigate through inflation, wars, pandemics, they're still thriving and growing. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, what's the secret sauce? What are they doing?
Yeah.
They treat their people well. They onboard well. They create an environment for them to be productive and creative, and
Yeah.
they give them the tools they need to do their job, and they let them do it. And it's simple, easy recipe that anybody can follow, but unfortunately, too many organizations do not, and it will catch up to them. And
Yeah.
it does. History dictates it will. It's just a case of when. But I think it'll probably be happening with more frequency as we start to see more and more of the baby boomers retire, because
Yeah.
well, now the youngest baby boomer is turning 61 this year. So give or take the next 4 or 5 years, if they choose 65 as a retirement age, then the majority of baby boomers will be out of the workforce. I mean, yeah, there's the
Right.
anomalies, the ones that work for a long time, but for the most part, the majority of them will be out, and then it's the invisible Gen Xers. I'm one of those. We're depending on our age, we're not
Yeah.
that far behind either,
Nope.
and so and then you've got the millennials and Gen Z. So I think that depending on, again, mindsets, because I don't want to blanket and say, okay, it's the boomers' fault. I don't want to sound I don't want to sound like a millennial. It's the boomers' fault, and I like poking fun at millennials because
Right.
I'm Gen
We
X.
all
So,
like picking those millennials. It's okay. We
well,
like to pick on them all.
the things that millennials don't like to hear is, because I've had the viewpoint of seeing both, the working with the baby boomers and with millennials, like, you guys have a lot more in common than you think. And then I run
Yeah.
off and hide because that they don't want, neither of them want to hear that. I'm like, you guys are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to be condemning or pick on or anything like that. It's just an observation of mine. And I wish that they would see that and realize, these could be allies and good mentors instead of not. But
Yeah. I think
everybody,
that's.
go ahead.
I think you have a good point there, Michael, when you say mentors. Because, like, when I interact with anybody younger than me, I'm always trying to mentor them and teach them something. Like, listen, if you take anything away, and then I'll just tell them like little nuggets of things. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just, even these newer managers that we get, because we've had a situation, a girl got thrown into it and she didn't realize what she was taking on. So I'm constantly talking to her, hey, listen, this will help you better. These are the things you're gonna. Well, I'm listening to her concern as well, obviously, because I want to hear what her voice has to say and everything else. So I'm addressing it, and at the same time, I'm helping her. Like, hey, listen, these are the things that you should try. And it's hard when you become the person that's in charge of everybody when you're really good friends with everybody and things like that too. And especially that situation, because I was like, I've been in that situation, so I could relate to what she was dealing with. But I try to mentor them all the time, because it's like, you don't see a lot of mentorships anymore nowadays. You don't get people that do that, take you into the wing and go, hey, let me show you the ropes of everything too, and everything like that, So, I think that's a dying breed of the things that people need to learn. Is like, hey, listen, it's okay to teach them. You can't sit there and complain about somebody if you don't like what they're doing, if you're not teaching them the right way. Like help them. Like, hey, listen, this is what you should be doing. Guide them to what you want them to do, basically. Instead of complaining, oh, well, I don't like this new person already. Then teach that person the task and everything else that you need and stuff like that done, and get it all done. Like, I mean, like, train them the way you want them to be, what better helps you in this situation. But a lot of times I tell them, like, you got to teach these new guys how exactly you want them to do and what the work that you need them to do is. And that way they can help you. Then you don't have to say, well, I don't like them because they don't do it. And this, did you teach them right? Because that's the one thing you go back to. Hey, did you train them? Oh, no, so-and-so taught them. Well, that's your problem, is that you're the manager in charge. You're the one that's been paid more to know these things and all this other kind of stuff. You need to take over executive order and basically make sure this person's on the right track for what you need.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Yeah, like I said, train them right, leverage their skills, because, and this is something I know a lot of managers, especially if they have self-confidence issues, don't want
Yeah.
to hear, is, sometimes the people you hire are better at that job than you were,
Yeah.
which is actually something you should aim for. You
Yeah,
want to be
definitely.
better, you want to grow and leverage their skills, and don't be, unless it's really specific, like in the case of Chick-fil-A. Okay, we got to follow this system, because
Yeah.
if you don't, if you put all, you put all the salt and pepper and seasonings in the frying oil, but you haven't put in the potatoes yet, well, all of a sudden it's like, you got a lot of order. Yeah, there's a
Right.
system you have to follow, but in many cases this is the outcome, this is when it's due, these are the tools that we use in order to create it. This is kind of the format we'd like to see, and let them create. And they may make something that's actually better than what you did, and acknowledge that and commend them for that. And again, it could make a big
Right.
difference in your business. It's just, because, going back to Henry Ford, I'm originally from Detroit.
Yeah.
He often, would say, no one wanted the car. They wanted the horses to go faster. But no one wanted
Yeah.
the car. Well, eventually he was able to convince them, and now, any of us that ever spend time in traffic are well aware that the car is definitely a popular choice for people.
Right. All right, Michael, let's get ready to start closing out. Did you want to give some people some tips on like what to do about if they're feeling burnout? Is there anything you prefer for them to do,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just kind of different tips you got for them?
Yeah, well, first off, I definitely want to offer a gift. It's a free PDF copy of my book, Burnout Proof. It's a quick read. It's intentional because if you're burned out, here,
Yeah,
read Tim Ferriss's Tool of Titans book that's 8 million pages. No, you're not going to. But mine is a quick read, and it goes
yeah,
into what burnout is, what are the signs, what are some things you can do. So just go to breakfastleadership.com/burnout book and enter your name and email. We'll get you a copy of that. But some things you can do. Number one, track how you're spending your time. Get really good at that. And I know some people don't like doing that, but see how you're spending your time because you might be doing the right things, but you might not doing them at the right order for you. Similar to the fry analogy we've been talking about.
yeah,
Uh, your workloads and things like that. You might be if you're bouncing back and forth doing different things that uses different parts of your brain in the day,
yeah,
sometimes that can be problematic. So if you can group like-minded tasks together, then your brain gets into a flow, and in many cases you get more done in less time. So tracking your time and getting a better understanding of how you spend your time at work and at home and in
yeah,
life may give you some insights to find some a little bit more elbow room so you're not constantly in the grind. Sleep, definitely sleep is, if there's a secret pill, that's
right,
it. Because when you're stressed and burned out, you're not sleeping well. And what happens is your body's not repairing the damage you've done today.
yeah,
And that piles up. And then all of a sudden, you get to learn about chronic diseases potentially, or anxiety, depression, stress, burnout. Your body starts failing on you because it's using all of its energy, to try to navigate the stress you're dealing with. So create
yep,
the best sleep environment for yourself. When people say, "Yeah, I went to this resort or I went to this fancy hotel, and the bed and the pillow is the most comfortable bed I ever slept in," I'm like, "Well, did you know you can go buy that bed and those pillows and those sheets? They sell them.
right,
You can
exactly.
buy
You
them
make the
directly.
same experience at home.
Yeah, you can buy them directly from many of the hotel chains if you want, but you
Yeah,
can basically just do the research and say, okay, what mattress is like this mattress at your local bedding store, and invest in the money into getting your best sleep, because
right,
if you get good sleep, your body is rested. That means you'll be able to navigate stressful situations better. So focus
yeah,
on your sleep hygiene. Get the best kind of sleep you can possibly get. And I talk about that a bit in the book. And then finally, everybody knows I'm going to be picking on food for a minute. I'm not going to tell you to quit eating the fast food restaurants and all that stuff, but figure out, keep a food journal if you can of
yeah,
what you eat, not to critique yourself and say, "Oh my goodness, I had 12,000 calories today." If you live in Texas, that's the starting point, folks. Okay, and because the food in Texas is amazing, and in order
yep,
to be amazing, they have to add so many milligrams of calories. But no,
right,
um, but figure out, write down. I don't care about the calories and things like that, but write down your foods and then the eat, and then also write down, how are you feeling today? Are you
yeah,
feeling lethargic? You feeling energized? You feeling whatever? Because what that'll do is it'll tell you, okay, every time that I go to this restaurant and I eat this meal, the next day I feel like, "Ugh." Or if
yeah,
I eat this, and it could be whatever, and I'm like motivated on top of the world, feel like I could, build skyscrapers all day and all night.
yeah,
All right. Well, you figure that out, and then you go, okay, you look ahead. It's like, okay, what kind of work day do I have tomorrow or next week?
yeah,
Oh, next week, we got the rollout next week. Oh my goodness, that's going to be crazy. So what you do is you go, all right, what foods do I eat that I like that give me, that little boost? All
right,
right,
yeah,
design your meal planning around that, and then that way you've got the food intake and the energy to help you navigate through a very stressful time. So
yeah,
it's you do those things, it's going to go a long way to help you. But like I said, the Burnout Proof book gives you a lot more insights and things like that, and helps you kind of design a life that's free from burnout.
Right. No, Michael, thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate you coming. This was a great conversation. I think
My pleasure, Pete.
it's a well needed conversation, honestly, for today's society, especially, with a lot of the people just feeling so like run down and everything else. And I think everything you said makes perfect sense. Sleep, you definitely need sleep. The food definitely affects how you feel and things like that too, and you can eat that stuff in moderation, but and it's so great what you're doing, man. I appreciate you being out there fighting for the people that need it, because I think that a lot of these corporations, like you said, just don't listen. And then you're like, well, okay, when you crash in 5 years, you'll learn. I try to tell you ahead of time. I'm trying to tell you how to sustain your longevity, and you're deciding you're going to do point A, which is get you to this point. But then 5 years from now, when you go crashing down, they'll come looking for me, because I ain't going to be there to help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I'd much rather be in the burnout prevention space than the recovery space, but
yeah.
you do what you do.
Exactly. So, Michael, do you want to plug any websites for anybody to come find out any information? You have the free book and everything. Is that on your website and everything?
Yep. Yeah, just go to breakfastleadership.com. That's where you can find, my social media links and all that stuff. And like I said, breakfastleadership.com/burnout book. That'll give you a pop-up, and you can enter the name and email, and we'll send you a copy.
Yep. I'll have all that stuff put in the link in the description of the video and everything like that. Michael, go check out Michael's podcast too. I got it, guys, too. You may have some helpful tips for you. May get rid of that burnout you guys are experiencing. So, but thank you again, Michael, so much for being here, man. I appreciate you coming. This is great. And as always, I'm Pete for Anxiety. I'm on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to High Radio. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete for Anxiety, signing off saying, hey, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your